Sorry, I want to sit next to you. Hi guys. Not sure what the title of this video will be, but basically I'm going to tell you about the time that I saw a UFO. And no, I'm not fucking crazy, and this really happened to me, and it's no bullshit, and it was never a drone, because I'm sure that that's going to be everybody's response when I tell people that I know that I'm close to about this experience. They automatically jump to, oh, you saw a drone. No. Drones look completely freaking different. They're smaller, and what I saw was up close and personal. So there's no thinking you saw something else. What I saw was a U.F.O. There's nothing else in this world it could have been. Let me start by telling you that the story takes place when I'm 12 years old. My mother used to do country line dancing when I was a kid, so she used to go out like every Wednesday night, and me and my brother would be left home from 7 to 10. And we were like, I was 12 and he was 16, so we were like of age, like he was watching me. But yeah, so my mom would go out and we'd be together, and I lived in West Milford at the time, which is a town in New Jersey, and where I lived was up on the mountain, is what they call it. West Milford's a very large town, but the portion where I lived on the mountain is like basically the wooded part of West Milford, and the mountain part of West Milford. We're actually very closely located to Clinton Road, which I know people probably have heard about. New Jersey's, was it Strange New Jersey or whatever? Clinton Road is all over that. But besides all the weird crap, this happened less than 5 minutes from Clinton Road. So anyway, where I lived was on a dead-end street. My house was the last house on the end of the street, and there was no neighbor on the opposite side of the street. I was the last one on the left-hand side. So, you know, the only other neighbor I had was right next to me or behind me. So, one night, my brother and me were home alone on a Wednesday evening, and my mom was out country line dancing, and my brother was a really big hunter. He's not really so much anymore, but like when we were kids, like he was part of like a hunting pack, and like they're really big into it. So there was a whole bunch of deer in my front yard. So my brother just turned off like every light in our house, and we were watching these deer outside of our window. Now it had to be about 8 or like 9 o'clock at night, so it's totally dark, but the moon was pretty full, so we were able to see the yard. So we're sitting there, and my brother's like, oh, look at the deer, blah, blah, and he's so fascinated with these freaking deer. There probably was like 8 deer in our front lawn, you know, we're looking at our picture window straight down at them. I got bored. I'm not really a hunter, never been into it, so I looked at the deer for like a couple minutes, but then I was like, yeah, it's a freaking deer, you know, what's so exciting about it? So, basically, if you were to look straight out that window into the woods, there was a community being built, and at the time, there was only a cul-de-sac that was actually established. None of the houses had been put on the cul-de-sac. So basically, it was about 500 feet into the woods, straight ahead from my house, till you got to this cul-de-sac. So there was probably about an acre of woods in between. No, actually a lot more than that. I'm under exaggerating how far away this. It's probably about 2 blocks away from my house if you were to walk on a city block. But through the woods, it was probably about 5 acres of woods between me and this development that was being built. So my brother's looking at these deer, and I'm just getting bored, so I'm starting to look everywhere else but at the deer. And I'm noticing in the tree line, like lights, you know, like, my first my first reaction was, this has to be somebody off-roading, maybe a couple trucks, or, you know, off-roading in the woods, because people would do that. So I didn't really think anything of it. I didn't even mention it to my brother. I just was kind of watching the lights, you know? And I said, oh, do you see that? And he's like, yeah, like thinking I'm talking about the deer. So I'm like thinking he's on the same page as me looking at these lights, but really he wasn't. So like 30 seconds goes by, and I'm still seeing these lights like move, you know, but they're like kind of like shifting, so it didn't really look like a car driving. And then the weirdest part happened. The lights started to race, okay? And once they got to about 15-20 feet, I knew it was no more a freaking car, it was something else. And then it kept raising, and then the lights got above the tree line, and it was a UFO. And when I tell you, like, not a drone, like a UFO, like that frisbee shape, and running down the center was a strip of lights. I could not tell if it was rotating so fast that I was seeing these lights in these alternating patterns, but they were yellows, whites, and oranges, and almost like a light red, but like I would put it in orange family. But these lights were alternating as it was hovering right above the tree line, and it was the length of my house, if not more. But this area where I was seeing it right at the tree line, which was right at the end of my driveway, which was my road, was only less than 200 feet away. So when I tell you I fucking saw a UFO, I'm not messing around. Like, I really saw it. And I was 12 years old, and it was pretty traumatic for me because the only thing I really knew about aliens were like from movies. Like, I saw Fire in the Sky and Independence Day, and everything depicted them as very fucking scary. So for me, it was really freaky. So I'm looking at this UFO, and I'm like, oh my God, Tommy. Like, I say to my brother like is just not paying attention at all. He's not even looking where I'm looking, because I'm looking this way and he's looking down. So all of a sudden, like, as I say Tommy, the thing goes from sitting there at the top of the tree line making these like flashing lights or whatever to poof, fucking gone in seconds, to the point where like I saw like a streak. And at this point, like, I had gotten my brother's, there goes my phone, I had gotten my brother's attention. So he looks to what I'm pointing at, and I'm freaking out at this point, because I'm like, holy fucking shit, right? So when I pointed was at the point where this thing is just gone and fucking gone. Like no noise, just a streak of light. It looked like a shooting star in reverse, okay? So my brother says to me, oh, was that a shooting star? No. That was a fucking UFO. And the worst part is he didn't see it. So now here I am freaking out. I'm 12 years old. We're home alone. I'm trying to turn on every light in the freaking house because I feel like they saw me. They're coming back for me. I was freaked out. I was totally just not in the right mind space. I was just freaking out. My brother, being the jerk off that he is, he thinks it's going to be funny to go to the basement and throw the breaker panels on the house. So I had no lights, okay? At age 12, I had no idea how to fix that either. So now I'm hiding in my bedroom with a freaking flashlight with the door locked. My mother came home about an hour later with my stepfather, you know, and then, you know, my brother's like telling him how crazy I am or whatever. So my mom comes to talk to me, and I am just hysterical. I'm like losing my mind because I'm like, these fucking aliens are gonna come back for me. This shit is real. It exists. My stepfather laughed at me. He thought I was fucking crazy. My brother thought I was fucking crazy. My mother has seen a UFO. So when I told her this story, she calmed me down. And she said, Lindsay, I've seen something similar. When she was a small child, she lived in Boonton, which was also on another mountain in New Jersey. Where she lived was by a water tower. She was really high up. And she happened to be in her lawn with her siblings. She had 4 siblings, and they were all playing in the yard. And her siblings noticed it before she did. And she was a baby at the time. She was like maybe 5, 6 years old. Like, not a baby, but like a young child. And like, she remembers like looking up and this thing just hovering over her whole yard, like it was the length of her yard, and her siblings and everything were looking up, and she didn't really know how to take it. She was kind of smiling and laughing about it until she realized her sister was scared, and then she started to cry, and then like she said that she didn't even realize like the second that the thing was gone. That's what I mean about like the gone, okay? So through all this ordeal, like my brother's making fun of me, my stepfather's making fun of me, and my mom is being honest with me. So it was like really hard to deal with because like I had people that just thought I was fucking crazy. And then my mother who was like, no, legit, like I understand. I get it. I don't tell anybody either. I've seen this shit too. So that was what I saw. And like I said, this was in like 1993. No, like 96 or 7. This is way before drones, guys. This is no government shit. This was up close and personal UFO. Now, what makes me say this? What makes me come out and tell you all of a sudden about my UFO that I saw today? I got really pissed off today listening to PRN, Progressive Radio, radio or whatever, network. I don't even know what the fuck to call it. basically they were having a conversation about life on other planets and alien life forms, and what they would expect would be more like bacterial and microbial, or oh my god, I am the worst, just the worst with speech. So anyway, so they were discussing like what they would find in space, and they were basically saying like, yeah, if we're gonna find anything, it's gonna be in water, it's gonna be a small organism. And then somebody called in and asked about UFOs, and they snubbed it off, and they were like, it's not real, it's not been documented. And it's like, are you fucking kidding me? It's real. That shit is out there. People have seen it. I have seen it. Like, shit ain't real until you experience it. And that, for me, was the craziest thing of my life. It is probably the most real fucking thing I've ever experienced. And to be, you know, a 12-year-old prepubescent teenage girl, like, you know, I just really, I had no reason to make this up, people. I had no reason to create a story. I had no YouTube back then, you know what I mean? Like, this is some deep, weird shit, and I'm sure people are going to have things to say about it, but I'm hoping that what I will hear is actually more experiences from you guys. Maybe a response video about the UFO you have seen. I don't really talk about it that much in social circles. Occasionally something will come up, like, do you believe, kind of a thing. And very rarely I'll tell my story, and most of the time people look at me like I'm fucking nuts. But one time I told my story to my boss's wife, because my boss was having the conversation, and I said, well, you know what? I know UFOs are real. I've seen one. And he looked at me and he laughed, and his wife's like, I've seen one too. And I told my story, and she's like, that's exactly what I saw. And I saw it in Bhutan, which is where my mother saw one, which is crazy. But it's like, you know, and they say that a lot